And the number 10 spot is Shaquille O'Neal. Back in 2014, he made headlines after posting a mocking selfie on Instagram next to a picture of a man with a rare genetic disease. The man is Jamel Binyon, a regular guy living in Michigan who lives with ectodermal dysplasia, which affects his teeth and his hair. He ended up suing Shaq for $25,000 in damages for emotional distress. In his lawsuit, he claims offensive communications for sharing that photo with more than 8.4 million people worldwide, his followers obviously, and said that it was an invasion of privacy, defamation, and general negligence. Shaq did issue an apology after the lawsuit came, both privately and publicly. He actually tweeted, "Made a new friend today when I called and apologized to Jamel Binyon. Great dude, hashtag my bad cuz." Fans were not really impressed with his post in the first place and pointed out that he only thought he'd get away with it because of his celebrity status. Like, no one would ever post that. I don't even know why you thought that that was okay.
At number 9, Sahar Tabar. Internet celebrity Sahar Tabar fooled the internet into thinking that she had a botched appearance because she wanted to look like Angelina Jolie. What people didn't know is that her appearance was digitally altered to get that shocking look that she was known for. It all started with one post that shocked the internet, and from that point she continued posting more and more shocking images of her zombie Angelina look. The more her posts circulated on the internet and went viral, the more she fed into this character that she created for herself. Everything was built off a lie, but that didn't matter to her because she became famous and addicted to that fame. She was eventually arrested for what she was posting online and went to jail for it, so that just shows how this fame addiction can go horribly wrong. Sometimes fame can bring out the worst in people. Now before I carry on with the list, I would like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really helps to support the channel. At number 8, Madonna. Madonna has been around for a while now, and somehow she's been able to hold on to that fame. I'm not saying somehow as in she's not talented enough to stay relevant, but I mean it in the sense that so many celebrities have faded into obscurity in the time that she's been around. Why is that? Well, some people say that she has an addiction to fame. Madonna rose to fame in the 80s and 90s, and since then she's evolved quite a bit. Her music isn't necessarily the same as it once was, but that's a good thing for someone like her. A lot of the time, musical artists will stay within their specific sound, and though it's great for those first starting out and climbing the charts, it's not so great when that specific sound or image isn't trendy anymore. For the most part, Madonna has been able to adapt to our ever-evolving trends, and when all else fails, you cause a scandal like when she kissed Brittany Spears at the VMAs back in the day. Madonna knows how to finesse to keep herself afloat in Hollywood, and that's good for her. At number 7, Trisha Paytas. YouTuber Trisha Paytas is one celebrity who refuses to be anything but famous. They've been an internet personality since the very conception of YouTube and really hasn't looked back since. They're one of the richest YouTubers on the platform, as was exposed in a recent story from BuzzFeed, but with all of that success comes the backlash that they've faced, and even though it's been ugly at times, there still doesn't seem to be any signs of stopping for them. When you look back at all the controversies and scandals Trisha has been part of, in the past Trisha has been infused with the Vlog Squad, Gabby Hanna, the D'Amelios, Ethan Klein, and so many more creators. On top of that, Trisha has faced backlash for disrespecting the DID community, and the trans community has also been hurt by Trisha's remarks as well. Even through all the drama, Trisha still comes out and continues being online as though nothing happened, and many believe that it's because of their addiction to fame. In the past, Trisha has said that throughout her 20s, they tried to be on as many shows as possible looking for fame, so we know that this is something that attracts Trisha. They may never leave the platform, but they're probably more than okay with that. At number 6, Jake Paul. I think we're all familiar with how bold Jake Paul can be. He's pretty unapologetic when it comes to his actions, and he does some pretty wild things. Recently, he's begun a boxing career, and he talks a lot of smack when leading up to a fight. In the past, he's trolled his opponents online and has made public remarks about those he's looking to fight, and he's ruffled quite a few feathers online. This could be enough of an argument to say that he likes attention, but also take into consideration the fact that he also grew up into fame, starting out on Vine back in the day, and later bridging over to the Disney Channel where he gained a following from acting. He's racked up a number of supporters, and it seems like this fame has gone to his head, as former professional boxer Mike Tyson has even commented on Jake's quote, ego addiction. In an interview, Tyson said, quote, "There's something wrong with him," end quote. He's also commented on how different Jake is from other boxers because he cares more about the notoriety than the money that comes with these matches. So I think it's confirmed. Jake Paul is addicted to fame, and everyone knows it. At number 5, Chrissy Teigen. In recent weeks, Chrissy Teigen has been facing backlash ever since she was exposed for having cyberbullied Courtney Stodden back in the day. Leaked DMs and past tweets exposed how mean Chrissy was to Kourtney, and as a result, Chrissy was cancelled. But since then, it seems as though Chrissy has been feeding off this bad publicity to keep her name in the media, or so people think. For the past few weeks, Chrissy has been riding the cancellation train, commenting on how unfair it is that she's facing the unrelenting wrath of the internet for some time now because of her drama with Kourtney, and some people have started to catch on to the fact that every time she complains about how people aren't really the biggest fan of her right now, it makes a headline. Just recently, Kourtney Stodden commented on the situation with Chrissy saying, quote, "I think that continuing to gripe about cancel club or whatever that is, I think step out, take your part, and maybe do something with charities," end quote. This was in response to the fact that Chrissy keeps on, quote, "looking for sympathy because of her cancelled status." It looks like Chrissy is feeding off her cancellation to maintain her fame, in a way which is a little backwards, but seems to be working in its own bizarre way. At number 4, James Charles. You would think that after having the internet cancel you so many times that you would just take the L and leave, but not YouTuber James Charles, which has led to people believing that he's just in it for the fame. Over his time online, James has landed himself in a number of pretty serious scandals. There was a whole Bi-Sister scandal of 2019 that saw the YouTuber lose millions of followers overnight. There's been the numerous allegations of misconduct against James, and with his recent slew of misconduct allegations, he's lost his hugely successful collaboration with Morphe Cosmetics, and his YouTube channel faced demonetization as well. After all the hits James has taken over the last few years, with all of the backlash he's faced and everything he's lost, how is he still around? Well, people think that he's just too addicted to the rush that comes with internet fame to step back now. For a lot of people, bad publicity is still good publicity, even if it taints your reputation, because at least people are still talking about you. James still has a pretty big fan base, but he loses thousands of supporters with every scandal he's in. Do you think there will ever come a time where James throws in the towel, or do you think he's in too deep? At number 3, Charli and Dixie D'Amelio. Charli and Dixie D'Amelio are some of the biggest influencers on TikTok, and they seem to be absolutely obsessed with their own fame. They're teenagers who grew up on the internet and have been exposed to fame at a young age, making it so that their growing follower count gives them some sort of rush. This is at least what psychologists believe when it comes to young people online, saying that this fame addiction is going to greatly affect kids in the future. They say that because these kids are so addicted to fame at such a young age, that in the long run they won't have a solid grip on reality when they enter deeper into adulthood, and that could prove troublesome. So not only are these guys addicted, but they're melting their brains at the same time, more or less. At number 2, Joe Exotic. After rising to fame with the release of the Tiger King documentary, Joe Exotic has been basking in his newfound notoriety, even from behind bars. Even though Joe was the talk of the town for a couple months back in 2020, Joe has been trying to hold on to whatever fame he has left and is trying to use that to get himself out of prison. Joe was sentenced to a life behind bars after plotting to end the life of his rival Carole Baskin and also animal endangerment. But after all that, Joe still tried to reach out to his fans, sending messages to them from in prison and even giving interviews from behind bars. We know from the documentary that Joe had always been searching for fame. He put himself out there with his music career, his web series, and even the fact that he tried to get picked up for a reality show. So finally, when his time in the spotlight came, Joe just didn't want to let it go. No one is really talking about the Tiger King anymore other than Joe himself, showing us that once he got a taste for fame, he got hooked and is not letting go. And finally, at number 1, Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is one of the most famous people in the world. She went from being Paris Hilton's assistant to being a billionaire celebrity/influencer. You can always catch Kim on social media, making waves in the news, and everyone wanted to keep up with the Kardashians at one point. But there's a dark side to all this that Kanye West revealed in an interview where he commented on how Kim is addicted to fame. When he brought up the idea that Kim was a little too caught up in her own fame, Kim in response said, quote, "I do agree that fame can be addicted, and it took me a long time to recognize how lost you can become when you put too much focus on it. People often ask me, money or fame. My focus has always been on success, and with success comes money," end quote. Kim also went on to say that at the beginning of her career she felt more strongly about fame, saying that back then she equated fame with success, but she claims to have a very different view on things now, being more focused on money than social status. At number 10, Lindsay Lohan. Yet another former child star who is addicted to fame is none other than Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay grew up in the spotlight, so really she doesn't know anything else, and the fact that she's not as relevant as she once was has caused her to want to hold on to that fame as much as she can. When she started off in Hollywood, she was a model and actress, making hit film after hit film. From The Parent Trap to Freaky Friday to Mean Girls, Lindsay was crushing it in Hollywood until about 2006. After that, things started going downhill. Soon the only headlines that she was making had to do with her substance abuse and DUIs, but for her, any publicity was good publicity because it kept people talking, and that's what what she lived for. Now that she's cleaned herself up a bit, not many people are talking about Lindsay anymore, and that seems to be a problem. From time to time, the actress would make headlines for something shocking like trying to kidnap refugee children and claiming to have been racially profiled at an airport, and these things would get people talking once again, though it isn't always positive. This fame addiction makes you do crazy things to keep you in the spotlight. In at number 9, Kristen Stewart. Speaking of Twilight, actress Kristen Stewart has seemed to have fallen into the same sort of boat as ex Robert Pattinson. Kristen, who's actually been acting since she was a child, really saw her image taken to new heights after the premiere of the Twilight saga. She had a struggle with fame after the very public breakup with co-star Robert Pattinson back in 2013. The breakup that caused massive media attention turned on her and her cheating scandal with director Rupert Sanders. As the drama surrounding the scandal began to disappear, so did she. After the release of her film Snow White and the Huntsman, Stewart seemed to have taken a break from the public eye for a few years. Upon making her slow return back to Hollywood, she was heard comparing her fame to having her limbs cut off. I think it's safe to say that Hollywood rubbed her the wrong way and she just couldn't handle it. Coming in at number 8, Macaulay Culkin. Former child star Macaulay Culkin was brought into the spotlight very early in his career. Upon reaching his peak in the 90s after the release of Home Alone, Culkin continued to have a pretty steady career. It wasn't until he reached the age of 16 that he decided to take a step back from the fame. After getting emancipated from his family, Macaulay went a little sideways and started getting himself into some trouble. After getting into trouble with the law and abusing illegal substances, the actor found himself back into the spotlight again, but this time for his fall from grace. Everyone knew him as the adorable child star from the 90s, and soon his image became tarnished. It wasn't soon after his public downfall that Culkin took a step back from Hollywood once again. Since then, he's decided to lay low and not gather too much attention. He's since referred to his fame as a blessing and a curse, as it got him a lot of success as a child, but he just couldn't handle the fame. Jumping into number 7, we have Daniel Radcliffe. We all know Daniel Radcliffe for his iconic role as Harry Potter, but what we've neglected to realize is that he's been in the public eye since he was a child. Kicking off his career as a boy wizard back in 2001, Radcliffe had his share of scrutiny from the public. Daniel has been quite vocal about his struggle with fame since being a child, saying things like, "People will boo you even if you're a child." Can you believe that? Imagine living your life as a 10-year-old and having people boo you just for being you. I mean, I understand being booed for some controversial thing you did in your past, but come on people, he's just a kid. The actor has also voiced his struggle with coping with fame, saying it's tempting to turn to alcohol to deal with scrutiny. Poor guy. I mean, this sort of gives us an idea as to why many celebs have substance abuse problems, but luckily, Radcliffe's doing okay even with all this fame. But since the end of the Harry Potter movies, he's chosen to keep out of the spotlight as much as possible. Over here at number 6, we have Demi Lovato. Former Disney star Demi Lovato found her start at just 16 years old upon getting her starring role in Camp Rock. After the movie's release, Demi continued to find success on the Disney Channel and with her own music career. But it seems that after her run with Disney, she began to crack under Mickey Mouse's pressure. Just 2 years after the release of Camp Rock, Demi reportedly assaulted one of the backup dancers she was traveling with. This began a very public criticism of the star. After leaving the Disney Channel, Demi found herself caught in the middle of other scandals like drug abuse and mental health relapses. Demi was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and this, mixed with the stress of being a child star in the media, just became too much for her. Demi started going in and out of rehab, but has finally seemed to come out in a better place. Focusing on her music, she's mostly stayed out of the spotlight and continues to get better. Halfway through at number 5, Kylie Jenner. Kylie is no stranger to paparazzi. After the rise of sister Kim Kardashian in the media, a new spotlight began shining on the Kardashian-Jenner family. In 2007, taping of the reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians began, and Kylie was only 10 years old at the time. Having cameras around you 24/7 and growing up with the spotlight on you like that must be incredibly difficult to manage. Kylie, having grown up so publicly, has since shown her distaste for fame. She's vocalized her anxiety when it comes to the press, saying that she wakes up every morning feeling anxious because she thinks that a bad story is gonna come out about her. She's been living with such paranoia for years, it's honestly heartbreaking. She became famous just because she's related to someone famous. She never really asked to have the spotlight put on her, but it's just something she's had to deal with on a daily basis. Kylie even hid from the world for months during her pregnancy because she just wanted to experience her pregnancy without the world watching. Seems to me that Kylie just wants to be a normal person. Coming in at number 4, Zayn Malik. Known for his part in the former boy band One Direction, Zayn was known to have his fair share of grievances when it came to his fame. After leaving the group in 2015, Zayn went on to tell sources that he came to the realization that he just didn't want to be famous and that he lost a lot of people close to him because of it. Zayn really didn't like living with the public eye, so he quit his job over it. Although Zayn decided to begin a solo career, many believe that even that was too much for the singer. After the release of Pillow Talk, Zayn followed up with a number of cancelled appearances and performances, leading people to believe that he's still not up for the spotlight just yet. Coming down to the wire here at 3, we have Avicii. Tim Bergling, also known as Avicii, was a DJ, producer, and musician well known across the world. His death back in April 2018 shook the music world. Although he is known for producing some killer music, he struggled a lot with his image. Being one of the most successful artists in the world and having sold over 10 million albums, Avicii worked hard to keep producing, but maybe he went a little too hard. Avicii was known to have struggled with his health and his fame, even going so far as to take a break from music back in 2014. The DJ went on to say that the partying and wild times that are associated with his job are really what had taken the biggest toll on his health, and that he really didn't enjoy that aspect of his job. During his break, he had 2 surgeries to remove his gallbladder and appendix, so he really did have a struggle with his health. Avicii died by suicide, and many believe that it was because of his poor mental health caused by his job and his fame. Getting close to the end at number 2, we have Brittany Spears. I think we all remember the pop star's public breakdown back in 2007 and 2008. Her fall from grace was heavily documented and criticized, as the public had never seen this side of Brittany before. She was previously seen as a sweet and charming girl with a baby voice, but after paparazzi snapped images of her attacking photographers with an umbrella while donning her infamous shaved head, Brittany's career plummeted hard. After dealing with mental health problems, a failed marriage, and losing custody of her 2 kids, Brittany's state went from bad to worse. It wasn't until her fame and the media came into the mix that things really spiraled out of control for the singer. She was labeled as crazy and was put into the care of her overprotective father. Having such a public meltdown was absolutely detrimental for the star, not only for her career but also for her mental state. Finally, coming in at number 1, Amy Winehouse. 5-time Grammy Award-winning singer Amy Winehouse experienced so much during her few years of fame. She became such an overnight sensation that she didn't know how to cope with all of her newfound fame. The rehab singer started off her career strong but quickly began to falter under the weight of her own fame. The artist soon experienced severe depression and turned to substance abuse to cope with the pain. Amy was so confused and overwhelmed by all the attention she was receiving that she began getting into the wrong crowd and experimenting with heavy drugs. Amy's career came to a halt after her death in July of 2011 due to alcohol poisoning. After her death, many of Amy's fans began blaming themselves for the singer's passing because they believed that they should have helped her better navigate her place in the media. Everyone was heartbroken upon hearing of her passing, but she's just one of the many examples of what happens when fame gets to be too much. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Robert Pattinson. The Twilight heartthrob had the spotlight shine on him for the first time after the release of the first Twilight movie back in 2008, and it's really been on him ever since. The limelight may seem like one's biggest dream, but to Pattinson, it's a nightmare. Robert often speaks out about how isolating fame can be and how it feels strange to be held to such a high standard. The actor says that it's a weird feeling to wake up one day and not be considered a normal person. Pattinson even stated that once fame hits, you lose your normal life. Pattinson is also critical of his fame because he's been pegged as that guy from Twilight, even though he's done many other projects since the saga came to a close. He doubts he will ever shake that sultry vampire image, so he chooses to live his life away from the public eye.
Coming in at number 9 is Gene Simmons. Some people would say he looks scary with all the makeup he wears as one of the KISS members, but I'm sure it would surprise people to learn that he is rude to the elderly. Apparently. This whole thing started when Modern Family star Eric Stonestreet shared a series of texts from his mom back in 2014. She texted him saying, "I think Gene Simmons is on my flight. Do you think I should go give him a kiss?" Get it? Turns out she's a fan of his and wanted his autograph, but before she could even ask for one, Simmons tried to force her to give up her seat. Eric shared the text from his mom, who explained that he tried to bully her out of her seat when she said no, and made comments like, "It's okay, I just bought the plane." Clearly trying to use his fame and money as a tactic to make her move. But she did not. You stay there, girlfriend. You stay in that seat. Swiping the number 8 spot is Jennifer Lawrence. Does it count as fame gone to your head if you admit that you're rude to your fans on purpose? From the outside perspective, her fans are saying that she is cold to them in person, but from her side, she has intentions behind it. During an interview, the actress admitted to being rude to her fans and said it's how she keeps her defense up. She said, "Once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. I turn into a huge They say, 'Can I have a selfie?' And I'm like, no. I think that people think we are already friends because I am famous and they feel like they know me, but I don't know them. I have to protect my bubble." She went on to explain that when someone takes a picture of her and then posts it, within 2 seconds they've basically created a marker of her location. Which is totally true. Like, I can totally understand her perspective. I feel like I see both sides to it, but what do you guys think? Has the fame gone to her head? Or is she aware of the fame and this is her way of making sure that it doesn't go to her head? I don't know. In spot number 7 is Sean Penn. It's hard to forget this story because it made news headlines, but maybe you need a refresher, or maybe this will be your first time hearing about it. Back in 2013, the actor flipped out on a fan in an upscale San Francisco hotel who took a picture of him on a cell phone. His entire explosive rant was captured and the footage surfaced online. Sean was at the hotel lobby bar when he saw a flash go off from the fan's cell phone. He lunges at the guy and screamed, "Do we look like effing zoo animals?" He probably did the head bobble there too. He then snatches the phone from the fan's hand and then slammed it to the ground and threatened that he would make him eat his cell phone if he didn't get the F out of there. The actor did not stop there though, he actually went and complained to the hotel management. The worst part about the story is that later on we learned that the fan actually attended the sales conference where Sean was speaking at. He even had his name tag on his shirt at the time of the altercation. Like, bruh, just let him take a picture of you. Cruising into the 6th spot is Kevin James. The King of Queens star seems like a huge teddy bear in the series, but supposedly he is not the nicest person in real life. Someone came forward and said that he was a waiter for him one time when he asked him if he wanted anything to drink. The actor responded with, "You were told not to speak to me." Apparently, Kevin's security guards went in first and told the waiters and staff to stay a certain distance from him. But the actor spoke on it and denied the story, saying that it is just a rumor. He spoke on it while doing an interview with Jimmy Fallon and said, "Can we check the facts on this one? If there was ever honestly a situation when I needed someone's undivided attention, it's gonna be when I'm ordering food from a restaurant." I mean, he does make a good point. But the question is he just covering up the story because he looked bad? We don't know the full truth, but if the waiter is telling the truth, that is some crazy diva stuff happening there. Like, to get your security guards to go into the restaurant first and let everyone know, like, don't look him in the eyes and don't go near him. That's a bit much. Halfway through the list is Roseanne Barr. She had her own TV series titled Roseanne, which ran through the years 1988 to 2018 with a total of 229 episodes. So to say she is famous is an understatement. But it all seemed like that all went to her head when she started to tweet out racist remarks against Barack Obama's former senior advisor, Valerie Jarrett. She referred to her as a child of the Muslim Brotherhood and something from Planet of the Apes. I mean, I feel like you have to feel pretty confident in your position in Hollywood to feel like you can say that and not have any kind of repercussion from it. ABC called an emergency meeting immediately, and just a few hours later her show was cancelled. She issued an apology, but at the same time she also defended herself by saying that she is a comedian and sometimes people get offended by jokes. Which is true, people do get easily offended by jokes. However, not quite appropriate. Number 4, and we have Miles Teller. He had a promising career for many years, but people saw a different side to him in 2015, and one that they didn't really like. He did an interview with Esquire and male writer and their waitress that the bar glass was modeled after his private parts, if you know what I'm saying. He obviously used a much more like vulgar term, but for the sake of this channel being shut down, I am not gonna say it. You guys know what I mean. He also had a really sassy attitude and tried to demand the writer to cut his meat for him when their food came. But after the interview came out, he voiced his side, saying that things were changed around. He told Vulture, I quote, "If how that story made me look is how I really was, I'd think I was the biggest douchebag too. I know who I am and it's not who I was in that story." So, who do we trust? That is the question. In our 3rd spot is Pierce Brosnan. At first glance, you probably wouldn't think that he could be a rude man. His good looks, talent, and charm won over the hearts of many people when he played James Bond in the late 90s. But people's opinions may have changed after talk show host and comedian James Corden revealed that he was rude when he ran into him. While playing a game on his own talk show in 2017, he was asked who the rudest celebrity is that he ever met, and Pierce was his answer. James said he went to see U2 and Pierce was there with some of his friends and they left halfway through. So James, who was with his wife at the time, moved into that area. As we all do. But then Pierce came and apparently pushed James out of the way, and James tried to like say hi and explain what was happening, but I guess Pierce just put up his arm to block him and wouldn't even acknowledge him. Making our way to number 2, we have Faye Dunaway. The Academy Award winner has been in hot water on many occasions throughout her career for her bizarre and disrespectful behavior. Most recently in 2019, she was fired from her Broadway play, Tea at 5, because of her erratic demands on set. Apparently, she was throwing objects at crew members, slapping members of her wig fitting team. She also threw one of her salads on the floor and also insisted that no one wear white to rehearsal because it's distracting. But things got even worse and she got sued by one of her assistants, Michael Rocca, who claims she verbally harassed him and referred to him as a little homosexual boy. His job was to run around and take care of things that she demanded each day, and he turned in audio evidence of her abuse, where she often used his sexual orientation to demean and humiliate him. I don't know if that's fame gone to your head or if that's just like, you're just plain like not a good person. Taking our number 1 spot is Bob Dylan. It's not totally surprising to think that the Nobel Prize winner might have a bit of an ego. I mean, that is quite the award to win. I might be feeling pretty good if I won that too. There has been a variety of reported incidents where he has come off as a diva. One stagehand who worked on his show said that he is famous for threatening to get them fired if any stagehands make eye contact with him. The employee said, "We aren't allowed to be around when he's playing since we didn't pay for tickets, even though it can take days to set up his show." And you know that Nobel Prize I told you that he won? Well, one Nobel Academy member came forward and called him impolite and arrogant after he refused to pick up their phone calls after the award was announced. I mean, I don't want to assume that he wasn't answering their calls on purpose, but I do understand like you probably should have put some effort into answering their phone calls, seeing as you're about to win the Nobel Prize award. Yeah, and as for the show, come on. Can you imagine like hiding your music like from the people who are setting up your entire show? Like, you can't be near me, you didn't buy a ticket. Like, bruh, you don't have a stage to perform on if it's not for me. Imagine that. Well, there you have it guys. I have nothing left. That is our part 4.